Good morning, colleagues. Another beautiful day in the neighborhood, and we are gathered after a year again to talk about engineered biomimicry. Chirality or handedness arises from the non-congruency of an object and its mirror image. This is commonly seen with organic molecules, which are, of course, tiny. At the wavelength scale, cholesteric liquid crystals furnish excellent examples of chirality. Molecules are arranged layer-wise, their orientation changing layer by layer to describe a helix. The pitch is on the order of the wavelength. And here's a scanning electron microscope image of a zinc selenide chiral sculpture thin film made by one of my students. You can see that it is composed of parallel helixes. And here is one made by a different student of mine. The image resembles the one taken from the elytron of a beetle. Plusiotis bucardi at the University of Exeter. You can see the same layered helicoidal morphology in the exocuticle of the Manuka beetle from New Zealand. The beetle exhibits circular polarization state selective reflection. It reflects left circularly polarized green light, but it does not reflect right circularly polarized green light. This beetle appears colored, usually green, when illuminated with either left circularly polarized light or unpolarized light. But when illuminated with right circularly polarized light, it appears black. This beetle also comes in other colors, such as red. It still exhibits circular polarization state selective reflection. Therefore, the helicoidal structure in the cuticle is structurally left-handed. Precision is not a hallmark of bioworld structures. Just look at all of these human heads. All perform identical functions, but they are all different. Just look at these 6 noses, although all modern humans are the children of just one Lucy. In this transmission electron microscope image of the cuticle of a golden beetle, you can clearly see that the pitch varies. This morphological disorder does not seriously impair circular polarization state selective reflection. I decided to examine the resilience of this phenomenon theoretically. I chose the problem of reflection and transmission of normally incident light by a structurally right-handed chiral sculpture thin film. This structure, when perfectly ordered, will preferentially reflect right circularly polarized light in a specific spectral regime, but not left circularly polarized light in that same spectral regime. I chose to compare the optical response characteristics of 5 different chiral structures. Structure 1 is the perfectly ordered chiral structure containing 30 identical full turns of a right-handed helix. Structure 2 was taken to have one kind of disorder that shows up in the permittivity tensor being different in adjacent turns. Structure 3 has even more turn-by-turn disorder in the permittivity tensor. In structure 4, I added turn-by-turn change in the pitch also. And the pitch was made even more variable in structure 5. So this is the most disordered structure that I studied, and I made sure that all 5 structures were right-handed. I used the standard transfer matrix method to solve the problem of reflection and transmission of a normally incident plane wave by the chiral structure, whether perfectly ordered or disordered. I'm not going to discuss the details of this method today, but just provide you with numerical results. First, let me present the spectrums of the geometric phases of the transmitted light for incident light of three different polarization states. Phi sub L is the geometric phase when the incident light is left circularly polarized. Phi sub S when it is perpendicularly polarized, and phi sub P when the incident light is parallel polarized. There is no geometric phase when the incident light is right circularly polarized. So phi sub L is shown in the left panel. Phi sub S and P are shown in the right panel. These are the spectrums calculated for structure 1, which is perfectly ordered. Compare the spectrums calculated for structure 1 with those for structure 5, the most disordered structure. There are big differences, immediately obvious. You can see them right away. Next, please look at the spectrums of apparent dichroisms on the left and optical rotations on the right. Apparent circular dichroism is the difference in the total transmittances of incident left circularly polarized light and incident right circularly polarized light. Apparent linear dichroism is the difference in the total transmittances of S polarized light and incident P polarized light. Optical rotation is the rotation of the major axis of the vibration ellipse of the transmitted light when the incident light is either S polarized or P polarized. These here are the spectrums calculated for structure 1, which is perfectly ordered. Compare the spectrums of apparent dichroisms and optical rotations for structure 1 above and structure 5 below. Again, there are big differences between the two sets of spectrums for the most perfectly ordered and the most disordered structures. But these are quantities of interest to physicists. Michelson, Rayleigh, and Raman, for examples, all of whom wrote papers on structural colors in nature. Why would other beetles, and of course their predators, care about these physical parameters? They won't care even for transmittances. But reflectances? Well, those are the real deal. Structure 1 is perfectly ordered. I calculated its 4 circular reflectances. R sub LL is the reflectance of incident's left circularly polarized light as left circularly polarized light, that is, without change of polarization state. R sub RR is the reflectance of incident right circularly polarized light as right circularly polarized light. In addition, there are 2 cross-polarized reflectances from left to right and right to left. Note the copolarized reflectance R sub RR in red. Its spectrum has a mesa centered at about 610 nanometer wavelength. Copolarized reflectance R sub LL is negligibly small when there is a mesa in R sub RR. This is not surprising. This structure is right-handed. Now, structure 2 has weak disorder in the permittivity tensor turn by turn. The mesa in R sub RR is still there, almost unchanged. And R sub LL remains negligible when there is a mesa in R sub RR. There is even more disorder in the permittivity tensor in structure 3. The mesa in R sub RR is a bit more disfigured, but it still towers over all other features. R sub LL remains negligibly small. Structure 4 has another disorder added, that in the pitch, turn by turn. Now, the mesa in R sub RR is disfigured more, but it still persists. And R sub LL, it remains tiny. And in structure 5, the mesa of R sub RR has been cleaved into two, but its dominance over R sub LL remains undiminished. Conclusion: circular polarization selective reflection is highly resilient against morphological disorder. This fault tolerance makes bioworld structures robust. Adequacy, not precision, is a hallmark of bioworld structures.
That's all, folks.
Thank you for your attention.